Okay, hello everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to the virtual event tonight. We're very excited. My name is Haley. I'm a bookseller here at the Novel Neighbor, and if you don't know who the Novel Neighbor is, we are a women-owned and independently operated bookstore here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm like really excited to hang out with you guys for like the next hour. It's like truly my favorite thing to do. It's like a fun little way to spend the evening together. So before I introduce our authors tonight, I wanted to run through like the plan for the evening. So our authors will come on here in just a second, and I'll introduce them, and we'll celebrate the release of The Lodge together. And then towards the end of the event, we'll have an audience Q&A. So if you have any questions that you'd love to ask Kayla or Lauren tonight, you can drop it in the comments of like whatever platform you're watching this on, Facebook, YouTube, either or. Keep them coming, and then we will ask them at the end of the night. Um, that's truly it for the night. So super easy, normal, virtual event experience. You guys know the drill. You guys are professionals. So I'm really excited to introduce our authors for tonight. Kayla Olson is the author of 2 books for young adults and The Reunion, which we hosted her last year for, and we had a great time. Whether writing at her desk or curled up with a good book, she can most often be found with a fresh cup of coffee and at least one cat. You can visit her at kaylaolson.com or at author Kayla Olson on Instagram and TikTok both. And so tonight, Kayla will be in conversation with Lauren Kung Jessen. The issue of me reading my script and like thinking through this is really bad. So sorry. With fellow author Lauren Kung Jessen, who we also love and adore. Lauren Kung Jessen is a mixed-race Chinese-American writer with a fondness for witty, flirtatious dialogue and making meals with too many steps but lots of flavor. She is fascinated by myths and superstitions and how ideas, beliefs, traditions, and stories evolve over time. From attending culinary school to working in the world of big tech to writing love stories, Lauren cares about creating experiences that make people feel something. When she's not writing novels, she works as a content strategist and user experience writer. She also has a food and film blog, a dash of cinema where she makes food inspired by movies and TV shows. She lives in Nashville with her husband, who she met thanks to fate. Read the algorithms of online dating. Oh my God, me too. 2 cats and a dog. So sorry. Reading things is so hard for me, which can you imagine? I read so many books a year. I am a bookseller. But anyway, that is enough for me. Let me bring in Lauren and Kaylin, and they will take it away. Hello, friends.
Hello. Hello. So excited to be here. And sorry, but that is such a long bio. It is not your fault at all. It needs to get cut down. Kayla, I'm so excited to chat with you tonight. Congratulations on the launch of The Lodge. I am so excited for everyone to read this book. I had a chance to read it early, and it is the coziest read probably of the year. So I have so many questions for you, and we'll dive right into it. But before we do, can you tell us what The Lodge is about?
All right. Yeah. Hello, everybody, for coming. And thank you for chatting with me. I'm excited to chat with you about this book. So, Lodge is a cozy rom-com set in Vermont at a ski resort. And it is about a girl she's writing a celebrity memoir about a former boy band member who's trying to stay. So she goes to this ski resort to work on the book. She's on deadline and just needs to get away from her home, which is distracting. Think she goes on retreat, just thinks that this is going to be the perfect place to focus. It's beautiful, cozy. I have this giant luxurious penthouse. What she does not count on is that right next door, in the pen next door, there is a very handsome, very kind ski instructor named Tyler who proves to be a little bit distracting. So it's a story of all that. It's entirely set at the lodge, pretty much. Feels like a small town romance almost, because there's a bunch of different little places at the lodge that they get to visit, and it's firmly romance, but there is a hint of mystery in the boy band element of it. Because 8 years ago, there was a boy band member who was missing, and so throughout reading the book, kind of pieces a little bit of the mystery together. Yeah.
Yes, there is. It's so the intrigue. And you're right, it totally does feel kind of like a small town with the whole world that you've built at the lodge. And so what inspired you to write this particular story?
Well, for the reunion, we're trying to figure out what the next right step for me. And so I had a bunch of spin ideas for the reunion just because I had a bunch of strong female creative characters I felt like I wanted to explore. But also, I'm not sure if to do something related or totally separate. And so when my agents, they were just like, you should come up with something completely separate just in case that's the direction we want to go. And my agents, she said, I just really want you to write the coziest thing that I've ever read. And okay, I can do that. And I felt like it was fun to explore different elements of celebrity type stuff, and I've done actors with the reunion, and so boy bands felt like a really fun different fact of fame, I guess, to look at. And also, I'm reading books about writers, and I people love reading books about writers. Book lovers are my favorite book, so I felt like it might be natural for maybe to be writing a book about a former boy band member. So it just felt fun to me to explore that, and especially with I think all of us just were really drawn to this story rather than spin-offy type things. So
Yeah,
it turned into what it did.
that's so fun. Yeah, cozy. Okay, write something cozy, mission accomplished. Did that. Let's dive into the characters a little more because, and I'm going to try to speak very carefully because we don't want any spoilers. As you said, there's mystery and intrigue, and we'll talk about that too. But we have Alex, who is the writer of the book, who goes on this writing retreat to ghostwrite this memoir. How did you go about developing Alex as a character?
Yes, Alex. I relate a lot to Alex, obviously, as a writer, and so it was kind of meta on some levels to be like, okay, yeah, she needs to get her writing done. I need to get my writing done. She has a cat who walks on her keyboard. I have a cat who won't write my book for me. Yeah, I think I was working on it. I thought it would be to give her kind of a journalistic background of how she's always writing about other people. And it's kind of cyclical and on other people. So her job has always been to boost other people. And maybe she wants to kind of make a name for herself as a writer. But even like she gets this first break to actually finally do a book deal instead of writing like articles. And it's like not even her name on the book because she's writing it. And so it would be interesting to just kind of explore that element of like working so hard, but having other people in your life not necessarily appreciating that. And her family in particular, like, doesn't really support that much. They see what brothers and accountants, and her parents are, oh, she's just being creative. That can't pay the bills. And I think she just feels very driven to, hey, creating things, even if it's fun and like, even if it's about some superficial boy band or entertainment, it matters. And I think romance, I relate with that a lot. I just love a happy read. I love a happy movie. It makes you feel cozy. Things get hard in the world. Someone recently asked me if you could any one genre forever, would you read? And I was like, I think I would read romance, just because like you can read it when you're happy and you can read it sad, and so all that together just kind of influenced Alex's character, just like doing what he loves despite what other people think about it, because she lives in it, but also just really wanting like fulfillment in that sort of creative career.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough question. What would you you have to pick just one. That's tough, especially because you have written other genres. So it's a hard question to answer.
Very hard.
And can relate to the cat not writing the book, but stepping all over the keyboard. What is it about cats? So then that was a really good summation of Alex. And what about Tyler? Did you have Alex in mind first, or did you have Tyler? And how did you kind of play them off of each other?
I think I came up with them around the same time. I probably had Tyler in mind first, since with the boy band aspect of the book. I don't know, just exploring different elements of both. But I was thinking about Tyler and just wanted to explore somebody who just lived. I don't know. It was just like the complete opposite of the sort of fame that Alex is writing about, and so I thought it would be a really good feel to like the subject that she's studying, all that celebrity fame, and just like contrast it with you who lives a private life like, entirely on the mountain, is not at all plugged into like celebrity pop culture, and just like barely even checks his email. And so like I thought that would make for a nice contrast. So it was really fun exploring his character, just having to be like just this director, and like fun little diversion for her. She's also not very risky when it comes to romance, and so I thought it'd be fun to have a best friend like kind of pushing her into like, okay, just live a little bit, like take a little bit of a chance, like what's the worst that happen? You're on deadline, just have fun with this guy. So just wanted to put somebody in Alex's life that would be just kind of a safe, fun place, but all kind of a contrast to what she's working on.
Yeah, you've got very plugged in and then very unplugged. So that's kind of like a fun way to shake each other's worlds up a little bit. We must talk about the setting, because this book is just so cozy at the Vermont Lodge, which is, I mean, you can just hear the words Vermont Lodge and you're like, take me there. How did you develop the lodge? Is it based on a real place you've been to? And if so, we need details so we can go live our best cozy lives.
So I'm a huge fan of writing just settings, and like my first book that I wrote, a young adult book set on a desert island, Deadly Island, beautiful. And the second book was on a station, so there's just a ton of stars. I think stars in everything I will ever write. So Union set in, Hollywood, beachy setting, and then this I felt like would be a contrast to all of those, a snowy mountain setting. Fortunately, the times I tried to go skiing as a kid, I had altitude sickness both times. They were both in New Mexico, and so I tried to somewhere where maybe potentially be a little bit easier on the elevation, so that if I ever decide to go on a retreat myself, like to check it out, maybe Vermont might work for me. But it's funny because I came up with a lot of idea first, and then started just trying to fill it out when I was doing research of like sort of things, just kind of check kind of my instincts of what kind of things could I expect to see in a village. Would there be an ice rink? Would there be a cafe, gift shop, things like that? And as I was researching, I found like this place that pretty much matched what I had in my head.
Oh my gosh.
It's Stowe Mountain Resort, I think. Let me see. There's Stowe Mountain Resort and Spruce Peak. And so if I ever actually got to visit this place, that's where I book a retreat. But I've never actually been there in person. I have no idea like how it is to real life. I took a lot of liberty just like making a very fiction resort, not based on anything real. I think that's probably the closest place that might feel similar. um, yeah, I loved creating the setting. It was so fun just to imagine. You know, I live in Texas, and so like, the brutal summers are just intensely hot. So this was a lot of thinking, like, okay, where can I go in my head that's cozy? So
No, I love that.
it
And
was a really fun thing.
yeah, and you can add all of the things that you want in there. Like if they didn't have an ice skating rink, you could make that happen.
Yeah.
You can add in the soft pretzels and the hot cocoa
Yeah.
and the coffee shop that makes all of the drinks that you want. So
Yes,
so
yes.
cozy.
I think you have a question about that later, but I've a bunch of drinks up and
Yes.
to drink them all.
Oh my gosh. So then if you could go anywhere on a writing retreat, where would you go?
Well, I would clearly want to go to the lodge that I created. I'd love to check out the Stone Mountain resorts, but um, if I pick any place else, I think there's a place that come to mind. So one would be like a castle in France or something, something big like that. But it's also, I feel like I would have a really hard time not knowing, like, I would have to have like a chef. Like, this is my personal just dream. I'm like, make this writing retreat happen unless I was fed somebody, because I get really like, I don't know, I need to eat on a schedule, and I need something that I know like won't make me sick. But, so I knew where food was from, maybe France. I like French food. The other place, I think it would be really fun to do a Disney cruise writing retreat. I've been on a bunch of Disney cruises and I love them. And that is a place where I know, like, I could just write by the water, write in a little coffee shop, and like they feed you everything. And there's shows, and it's just beautiful. You don't really have to go there, but it's a nice way to check out. One doesn't really work unless you buy an expensive internet package. So I think that I could probably get a lot of work done, like if I was one or two friends to kind of keep me accountable. If I went with my family, like, all bets are off. And so that's one reason I've never done it, because I think I would miss them so much, and they love them too. So, but I might have that someday if I can find a couple people who want to do a Disney cruise retreat.
Yeah, that would be so amazing. I mean, Castle in France, sign me up.
Yeah.
But I have talked about this with my husband too, where I'm like, can we go on a cruise? He's never been on one. And I love cruises, actually. I really love them. And I was like, you're forced into this one place on ocean sea days, right? What are you going to do? You can write. And then at night you have the shows, as you said, lectures, whatever. And then food's already made for you.
Yes. And it's all right there. Like, and
Yeah.
people really stay up till the night, and it's just easy, and end up early before everybody. Then the ship is so quiet. So
Yes.
yeah, I read your new book on my last cruise, and that
you
was
did.
fun. Yeah.
I always love living vicariously through your cruises.
That's my like author dream goal, is to be a stranger one of my books on a Disney cruise ship. So
Well, you
I
leave
think
them
that would
around,
be,
and so that's a real possibility.
yeah. I usually do that at the end of the book, because I don't want people to like, oh, there's a girl who wrote the book, and she like just to find her book. I will just drop it off like last day for people to take home, but that's always fun. I like there's a little place where people leave books and trade them and stuff. So
that's cool. In your books, you've done this before. You have mixed media, so you incorporate little elements, usually at the top of the chapter, with like voice memos. In this particular book, the hotel amenities menu, which was super fun, emails, weather alerts. So I would love to. I have not ever done this really in the way that you have, where you've like really fully integrated it into the book. How do you determine what media formats to use, when to use whichever format, and how do you make them contribute to the story?
Yeah, this is a great question. And there's some of my favorite parts, right, of the book is, when you're stuck just writing the actual, like, narrative. You're like, okay, I can just put on my blogger voice or write a news report, and it just kind of gets the brain going in a different way. Um, with the lodge, I loved incorporating the voices. These the recording the boy band member is making for Alex while she's writing the book, and they he just loves to talk about himself. So there's a lot to choose from. One thing I'm saying, because I've got questioned a couple of, and the answer I've been giving for how I decided to start using these is it's kind of in left field. I always think of Hunger Games, the book versus the movie adaptation, because in the book you're just in like Katniss's perspective the whole time, but in the movie adaptation you get to see like into the room and like bigger glimpses of the world around her. You don't get from Katniss's perspective. I always say I feel like it's like one of those examples how a book adaptation being different from the book is necessary in ways, and also just kind of gives you a good glimpse at other parts of the story. All of that to say, when you're reading a book in first person, like especially one that's just kind of set in an insular place, just like at the lodge, it's nice to be able to get a glimpse into the rest of the world. So I try to think of this world building tools, and just showing, what do people think about Sebastian? What do people think about events that happened 8 years ago, that contribute to the mystery? And, showing Sebastian's voice, like in his own work, kind of gives you a glimpse into his character a little bit. It's pretty fun. I even had a Google search, I think, in the Lodge. It's very short. Like that. It's just really fun to come up with them. So for me, it always just like a puzzle, just sprinkling them in a way that feels balanced throughout, also mixed up enough to where, okay, it's not the same thing every time, but I always get to help like the story forward or like intrigue somehow. So even just a little, like there's one that's like tracking Sebastian plane, like it's like a Twitter account like devoted to tracking Sebastian Green at all times. Inspired because I similar accounts like devoted to Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And I was like, that's weird, but I can use it because there are people who do that.
Yeah.
So like using that to show like where is he right now and kind of pushing the story forward. So yeah, I think they're really fun, and it can be challenging sometimes, especially if you're editing and like having to chop the book up and move things around. Those pieces all have to move too. And like there were times where it made more sense to cut some that I had, or like I had to write a new thing entirely because what I had previously like didn't fit in the new place. So it's a tricky balance, but I like it.
I was going to ask if that had happened where you had to move something around and then change the format of the media piece. Interesting.
Yeah. it's tough sometimes, especially in the balance, because I work them into the narrative so thoroughly. Like moving one piece can really throw things off. So it caused some problems for me, but nothing I can have fun eventually solving.
Sure. Yeah. Those big edits can be painful. So kind of, you talked about layering and sprinkling. So I think this lends itself nicely to the next question, which is building mystery and intrigue throughout the book. No spoilers here, but there are twists. So how do you go about adding those layers into like the mysterious elements into the romance without, like, how do you drip that along?
Yeah. I always call this firmly a romance, but with hint of mystery for that same, just like it's very different playing a book that is a romance with a bit of mystery versus like my second YA book, The Splintered Silence, is like firmly like mystery thriller on the space station. Like one of us is lying, you know, the 100 if they had stayed in space. It's like that was really hard to plot just because it was big time mystery and like tons of tiny little clues here and there and red herrings and blah blah blah. With the Lodge, it was very much like you know, just drop a few breadcrumbs away so that when the happens, it will make sense. And in some way, like I want people to feel like when they look back and read everything before that, them to feel like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you know, as opposed to it coming out of nowhere. And so that was it was a real tricky, I feel like, to like figure out the right balance of what to say, when to say it, and how to build it in to where it felt for like a romance that that undercurrent of intrigue and mystery like really paid off well. And just like in a romance, you know, like there's gonna be a happy ending. It's not always like what happened, but like the fun is how it happens. And so I kind of the mystery aspect in that way as well. So
yeah, I love that. No, you do a great job of it. This is a romance, but it's still kind of like you can't stop reading because you're like, what is like what's going to happen? How is it going to happen? So it's a really fun read in that sense.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have to talk about boy bands because how can we not? And it feels very nostalgic, or maybe I'm just like not in the loop anymore about boy bands now, but what do you think it is about boy bands that are so compelling? And are there any boy bands that you're loving right now?
I have just always loved a boy band. I loved NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and Hanson, and Jonas Brothers, and One Direction. You know, I think similarly, like I've just been a big fan of like ensemble cast too, like in Roots or in Dawson's Creek. You know, Dawson shows up in everything that I do eventually, I think. But like boy bands are kind of another like of like the ensemble cast, because you have this you know, you have like they're manufactured groups of different personalities and skills, and some more talented than others, like at dancing, singing, or just being the good looking one, you know. And so I thought that was really fun to explore, just provided a lot of material with various personalities, people, you know, and especially like look at it as a where are they now sort of situation, like 7 or 8 years after the band fell apart. And seeing like how a couple of the members are just like, I don't want anything to do with being a boy band anymore. And Green on the far end of the spectrum is like coming to his fame every way that he can. And so I didn't pull from just any one boy band inspiration. I wanted to be clear of it be reminiscent of any one group, but yeah, those that I mentioned are my formative favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any like right now. I guess BTS is probably the most current, but I haven't gotten into them as much as you know, other people. But I do think that they're, you know, incredibly compelling, and talented. So
yeah.
Always enjoy a boy band.
I'm trying to think, like, because I listen to like kind of like more folk alternative boys in a band, but that wouldn't be like a boy band, but they are a band, and they are right, like maybe that doesn't count, but
no, I think what you mean. Like we were listening last night, we came all the way home from town back to Denton after my Larkin Owl. It was like a 3-hour drive. We didn't get home until 1:30 in the morning. We stayed awake by playing boy band 96, but then all of a sudden they started playing Soul Sister. I was like, know that I would call them a boy band.
Right.
So,
Maybe it's more
as much as I
poppy.
like song, like they're not like the synchronized dance move situation of, of
Right.
old.
So then how much research did you have to do for not only just boy bands, but also ghostwriting? Because there, you can pull from a lot of your own writing experiences, but what did your research process look like?
Yeah. The research process for ghostwriting looked a little like I made a lot of assumptions and then had to change them after my edit. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so fortunately she was very helpful with information about like how the ghostwriter gets the information, like communicate directly with the editor, does she communicate with the person she's writing about, you get royalties in it. The big plot point in my first couple drafts was like, oh, like she's gonna lose her contract because then she will get royalties later. She's like, that doesn't work because like usually ghostwriters just get like some, and so they're not really in the conversation when it comes to how well the sells later.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so I made some changes to that, which also affected how the plot played out and various motivations for why she did various things. So that sort of research is a lot like instinct is, from in publishing file with having a editor who has a lot of good knowledge to pass my way. And I would say is also just like, their feeling of just like a citizen internet for as long as I have been, like kind of absorb various articles throughout the year over like various drama that's happening or,
Mhm.
you know, um, yeah, just looking at agencies of how their form and yeah, I don't even know. Like, I think I just am naturally drawn to stories like that. It's probably just on every article over the years and let that form kind of how I wrote the backstory for these members. Seemed pretty natural that they get taken advantage of sometimes. We just don't always get as much as they're owed as far as
Yeah.
payment is concerned or fair contracts. And so a lot of that is fiction and instinct, how this boy band could conceivably have worked. But
Yeah.
still love for culture.
Yes. Do you tend to do your research before you start drafting? How much do you have to know before you go into it? Or are you researching as you draft?
It usually depends on the situation. I think I'm not really a big like before I draft researcher, mostly because I'm so drawn to characters and setting and the story that unless it's like direct of question I need to know,
Yeah.
then I'll look it up in the moment. But a lot of the research then like comes after fact. Like I'll just kind of go on instinct, and, unless it's something super specific, and look at everything that I have and be like, okay, does this work? I need now, but I need to research a little more. Like after I have a full draft, and finish things as I go. So yeah, really like as I go, or even in the second draft stage, I'm usually doing more research than upfront.
Okay. I'm curious how complete your first draft is. Like, do you just have to like get it all out and then you kind of make a real first draft? Like, or do you draft very clean? Like, how do you do this?
I'm a very clean first drafter, like
Okay.
on the sentence level. Usually my sentences are very like I'd say polished because like I'm kind of a perfectionist in that way, and usually when I'm writing a first draft, it's like right after doing past pages copy edits. So like just come from the most nitpicky part of the process when the book is in its finished version, and then go to the first draft. I'm still in nitpick mode, and so it's really, really hard for me to like go forward with that sentence or paragraph like looking exactly how I want to, like rhythm wise. And usually like it's hard, like I can write like 10 scenes ahead because I feel like their conversations, even like other things that happen in the scene, just influence how the story is shaped. And so I'm not a pantser, and I'm not an overly deep plotter. I consider myself kind of a hybrid. I'll plot out like points along the way that I'm shooting for, structure-wise, and allow myself to connect the dots along the way. So it just kind of tight first draft, but still allows me to discover the characters and the stories as I go. But the problem is that like it'll be really clean on a sentence and very readable, but then it's like, okay, like there's big issues here. I had to like rip out a whole subplot after my first draft last year, and some major surgery. It was a huge after I turned in the first for the lodge, and my editor's broke, and so everything suggests is just usually like, yeah, like why I think of that? That's a great idea. Yes, okay, but now I have to. so, so I feel like I have a good foundation to start from, but always.
Okay. Yes, I remember seeing on your social media the whole process that you went through and all the edits on the page. It is a process.
The pages are always just being like, because it out like 2 pages to a sheet of paper, little margins around it.
Yeah.
I'll put it in a pretty pen highlighter, and then I just love looking at that later too, because it just feels, hey, yeah, I did something.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I've started recently track changing edits. And so at the end, you can see all the red and how much has changed from the first draft, which is, it's like it's all red, it's just blocks of red.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about food. Because there's a lot of delicious snacks and food in this book: soft pretzels, hot cocoa, salmon, salad, honeybee cocktails, and a lot of cozy coffee shop beverages, which as a food lover, I just love knowing how writers land on the food that they put in the book. So how did you land on the food and beverage items?
My mom loves to say, like, she loves to read because she sees pieces of me all throughout. And this is like nowhere is that evidence than in the food that I choose. Okay, I'm craving this today. This is really good to me. I think my characters would love this now. And so there's always coffee in every book I write. I'm a huge fan of like sweet and spicy or sweet and salty. So like salted chocolate, salted caramel, where like the pretzel and hot chocolate came from. I've still never tried them together, even though in the book it's so good. I need to try.
Yes,
but, I had the revelation the other day that it's like the grown-up version of like a Wendy's Frosty with French fries.
Love that combo.
Yes. So this felt kind of an elevated version of that, but it's funny because there's a chili that Tyler book, and they have a whole conversation about like beans or no beans. My husband literally like making that chili as we speak. Our go-to foods that we do, and so like, yeah, maybe share that recipe from a real magazine probably like 15 years ago, and we make it all. It's so good. Oh my God, yeah, so I had really a lot of fun with like the coffee drinks and the cocktails and everything like that. I just feel like it gives such, you can add such mood, I feel like, with the certain food that you choose to. Honey, lavender, people, people, it's a universal language, you know, people know what those things taste like, and you know how you feel when you're eating them, drinking them, and so it's always really fun for me to add food and drinks and books, just to kind of impart a feeling, I guess.
Totally. No, that definitely does. And it lends itself to the coziness of the soft pretzel and the hot cocoa, but also the gesture of cooking for somebody and just kind of like setting that stage of what the character is doing, what they're consuming really helps. So I wanted all of those foods afterwards. Okay.
I did too.
So
I recently in my most recent project, I made a dessert and I was like, immediately, I want this dessert.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all can look forward to that.
Yes. Well, speaking of, because I want to make sure we leave time for audience Q&A, what are you working on next?
Well, I have not been able to talk about it until this week. We won't have official announcement on the internet for a little while because I think my editor wants the chance to read it before we announce to the world. But she gave me the right this week that I could talk about it, and so yeah, this is like the first time I've really talked about it this whole week. And so I talked yesterday, but it's another adult romance. My same editor. It's with HF. It's the most incredible publishing home that I could imagine, and I'm excited to be doing another book with them. This one is not a celebrity book, and I had so fun with it. It's about a girl who gets broken up with for being too maintenance, and she's like, "No, I'm not. I'm so like." And I'm gonna so prove it by signing myself up for a long trek. So she goes on this nature hike. Essentially, she a little bit inspired by personal experience of being a crossover packer. Like I bring the entire pour over up there I go. And so does she in this hike. So that gives you a little glimpse into her character. So she gets to experience the great outdoors, which is the title for, and the love interest is her hiking guide. And it's just, you know, a different setting. Again, I was super inspired by just the idea of writing. This is in Sierras, Northern California. This book and lots of stargazing, lots of s'mores, and you know, only one tent situation.
Amazing.
And yeah, it was really fun and inspired, I will say, by that my tennis coach one time, he's seen how I even come to this without bringing like 3 bags with me sometimes when I'm working, like before tennis. And he's like, I would love to see you go on like a camping trip where you only bring a small backpack. That's my nightmare, and I feel like I need to write a book about that.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it's currently for sometime in 2026. I won't be sure until my editor reads it and tells me how much I need to rip apart. So look out for the official announcement on that. February or March, hopefully. We will get to officially spread it all over the internet. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited about that one as I am, because as I read it, it has become just one of my most favorites that I've ever worked on. So.
Oh my gosh, so excited. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Cannot wait. Already so excited for it. That sounds amazing. Can relate to having just lots of things. Although I am a no check-ins, so I'm a carry-on only.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I did that when I went to the book festival, carried only my tag.
Yeah.
It was so it's terrible.
It's rough.
I have a friend,
Yeah.
one of my friends, she actually won the Amazing Race, and so I was in her brain. I was like, "Here,
Oh my gosh.
how did you do this?" And she's so much more go with the flow and chill than I could ever be. And yeah, it confirmed that like I would be great at payment if they ever took me on the Amazing Race, which I've applied for. Because I'm like, where's my coffee?
Yeah.
Where's
gosh.
all my familiar comforts? So much just like comforts and routines. And just I'm
I love it. Can't wait.
Thank
Okay,
you.
now we're going to see. Okay, we're going to turn to audience Q&A. So
I have
let's.
been called.
Okay, you've been summoned.
Hello.
Oh, I'm back. I love that you like applied to The Greatest Race because my dream is to be on like American Ninja with like zero training whatsoever. I'm like, I'm convinced I could do it. Okay, so first audience Q&A question. What is your favorite boy band fandom? And which do you think was most impactful?
Oh, for me, my like formative boy band, my boy band love was NSYNC. And I've loved a bunch of different since then, but yeah, songs just even now just like they bring me to a place. So but I appreciate many different boy band films. And I think I don't know, just like anything, like better at some than others. So, I appreciate that, but I love nostalgia of Bye 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 and It's Gonna Be May.
It's gonna be May. I love a good boy band fandom. I grew up with One Direction. I feel like the One Direction fandom, you truly just like you had to be there. It was crazy and insane. And me and my coworker Cassie look back on it a lot, and we're just like, "Whoa, that was wild!" And
That's amazing.
I think you mentioned BTS. And BTS's fandom, like the army, is crazy. And have you watched the Dream Academy, like Pop Star Academy thing on Netflix yet?
I haven't watched it, but I feel like I saw a clip of it.
Yes. So
yeah.
it's like they take like the K-pop method and they train
Mhm.
for a girl group that's like international in America.
Oh,
And
man.
like the fandom, like they bring in a fandom for like this project, so that way like they build a fandom as like they're doing this competition. And I just finished it today. And it was crazy, like the amount that like the fandom had a say in this whole like experience.
Wow.
Fandom is crazy.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And as you said, like a group, I was like, oh, it would be so fun to like write a like Josie and the Pussycat, or Gem and the Holograms type, like something.
I would do that. Okay, the next question is, what is the swooniest thing a man can do? So like what's like the hottest thing a man can do in your eyes?
Oh my gosh. My husband does all the grocery shopping and it is amazing.
That's so fair.
And yeah, I'm at that point where I'm like, you know what? Like that I'm very loony over the fact that like he's making my dinner right now. He cooks, he the food. He's wonderful. Yeah, and he's also just a really good dad. So for me personally, I think it's very swoony when a guy is just really thoughtful and like looking out for ways to remove the of stress that somebody might feel, and not specific to just my husband, like a love interest in a book, he's for to make her life easy, that shows that he's really like paying attention to who she is.
Yeah. To be known is to be loved, they say. I do love that. Okay. If your characters from the lodge and the reunion met, what would they do, and how would they react to each other?
Oh, I feel like they would be at a Halo concert. Halo is my huge pop star from Reunion, and maybe Millie Matson would be there too. She was my kind of pop star in up and coming star. And so I feel like there could be a good crossover between like their world and the world of the boy band, and just that would be really cool. Let's see, Little Ransom. I feel like maybe they'd be like starring in a movie together, and the band's on the soundtrack or something. Maybe there could be a crossover for that.
Oh my
They all
god.
meet at the premiere.
Novella?
We need this. Yeah, we need this
Here we
bonus.
go.
Like,
Little Substack novella for the new
Yes.
year?
I feel like I could write that. I love that question. I hadn't thought about that, but that's probably where I'd go with it.
That's really funny too, because it kind of leads into like the next question. This book feels like a Hallmark movie. Would you have a dream cast if it were made into a movie?
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at like dream casting things. People like when I write them, they feel kind of little blobs in my head. Like, because if I see them too much, like I don't know. I never try to base them on real like movie stars, but I feel like somebody, I can't remember who, it was somebody who read very early when they thought Emma Stone would be really good Alex. And I could see that. Kristen Bell. For Liv in the reunion, I always pictured Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey from the new Star Wars, and so I had her up on my laptop screen. I did have kind of a clear vision of her. Yeah, she's great. As for Tyler, I always think of him as having like Tsitsipas hair. He's a senator from Greece, and like he just has like, kind of shoulder like wavy hair. But I think he looks like the rest of them. So, yeah, if you guys have questions of like a fan cast, I would love to hear it. I always find it so intriguing, like who people imagine in those characters' roles. Oh, who am I thinking? Anna Kendrick, I feel like be really fun.
That would be a good one.
Like, yeah.
Because she that one mystery thriller-y one with like Blake Lively, and I feel like she could.
Yeah. So that could be really fun too. Yes, but always happy to hear people's suggestions on that.
Open to suggestions, and if you're a person who buys movies and makes the movies, wink, wink, you can buy this one.
Right. Hey, that'd be fun.
Just saying, we're manifesting. 2025 is the year of manifesting. Okay. What does your writing process look like?
Yeah. You might not be able to tell from my talk show background, but I'm in my writing office right now. So I sit in here alone a lot with a cat in my lap, and she does not write the book for me, fortunately. But every day I start with a logic problem. I don't know if you've seen those like logic puzzles. They're just like brain teasers that kind of get my brain warmed up, and I finally sit down and I'm ready to write. So I will usually just before I start a project, I come up with basics, who's it about? What do they want? Why do they want it? What's at stake? And if they don't get it, what do they stand to gain if they do get it? What's in their way of getting it? And once you have those kind of essential questions answered, a plot just starts forming, I guess. And I try to always plot out, signpost the way at like 25% mark and then the 50% mark and kind of between those. And I get to the 70% mark and I'm like, okay, I have thrown out a bunch of just like I put my characters in trouble and I've raised up a bunch of questions and problems for them to solve. Now how am I gonna like weave all together to where everything tied together really elegantly with like one single climactic sequence? And so yeah, I just I love the discovery of a story. And so I plot only enough to know where I'm headed next in it. And then a very slower, because I'm a perfectionist, as we already discussed. But I try to just like, every time I sit down, I try to think of like, this is the most fun job in the world, to get to write fun, happy books that read when it's a hard day or a good day, and just like, I write fun settings and fun people, and so like it makes it less like work. I think about it that way, and just be like, okay, I decided to do this because I love it, and even when it gets hard, and it always gets hard, like it's just a really, really fun.
Yeah. Okay. What inspirations do you draw from to write the mystery thriller aspects of The Lodge?
What inspirations? Well, that's kind of hard to talk about without giving away spoilers. Because in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly why I wanted to do what I did. But let's see. I think, how can I word it in a way that doesn't feel spoilery? I think I just really enjoy examining all aspects of a person's choices and like how they been shaped by the past and what they want for the future, and just layering it as a mystery. It felt really fun to have like just it's propelling the story, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to answer that question.
It's like one of those where like read it and you'll find out kind of questions. Like just pick it up and then you'll understand. Okay, this next question kind of like works for both of you guys too. So like Lauren, if you want to chime in, it's truly just like what have you guys been reading and loving lately?
Oh yeah, I just finished Carter's The Wonderful Crime of the Year, and I loved it. It was so fun. It's like Knives Out on an English manner in a very wintry setting. It was so fun. So I finished that, and then I'm also reading Ellen O'Connell's adult romance debut, The Heartbreak Hotel, which comes out later this year. So good. I read everything Ellen writes, so put that on your radar. I'm not done with it yet. I'm just savoring it. And it's very readable. It's very just, I love the characters and the together. So I think you guys will love that one.
Yeah.
I can jump in too. So I read Alice Chen's Reality Check, which comes out in a few months. And that one is kind of like a reality TV. There's a little bit of mystery there too. It's kind of like a murder mystery, but it's mostly a romance. It's kind of like a cozy romance mystery. That was really good. Especially if you love reality TV, because it goes deep into the reality TV element of it. Did you say?
Oh, that just sounds fun.
What was it
It's
called?
called Alice Chen's Reality Check.
That sounds so good.
It is really good, and it's by Cara Liu and Jennifer Young, and there's no cover yet, so I've yet to see one, but that is coming out, I don't remember when, summer, I think. And then I'm reading right now Slipstream by Madge Merrill, and that one is, it's a Formula One, and I don't know anything about that world at all. Like I've never seen a race, I don't know anything about that world. But I am so hooked. I'm so invested that I even like YouTubed like a race. I was like, I have to know what this is all about.
Full immersive experience.
I had to know. Yeah. I know those are both kind of coming out. I'm doing a lot of like reading right now for the future, but
that's me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I have like one last like fun question for both of you, and then we'll like wrap up tonight. But I think this one's like really fun since like your book deals with food. Like what would your last meal be?
oh, the top of my head, it would have to be like a filet mignon cooked medium rare with as many mashed potatoes as they'll give me. Maybe also like a side of baked potato and French fries.
Ooh.
Some red wine and chocolate, like chocolate torte.
Ooh. I was thinking like mine would be
All of
like
that.
lasagna and a Wendy's chocolate frosty because you
Yeah.
said that earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, a Wendy's chocolate frosty.
Yeah. It sounds good, right? Like I need that. It's welcome. Good one.
Lauren, what would yours be?
So normally with these questions, I'm like, it depends on my mood. But if it's my last meal, I probably am not in a great mood and I just want like something very comforting. So definitely pan-fried dumplings. And I love baked potatoes. So probably like extra loaded baked potatoes with everything on it. Bubble tea. I just I like anything rice, like a pile of rice. Just give me like a bowl of white rice. Like I could
go ham on a bowl of rice.
Yeah. Nothing on it, just rice.
Just rice.
Yeah.
You
know.
You know what's up. Oh my god. Okay. That's all the time we have, you guys. I am so glad. I think it was like a fun little night.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, get in there.
I want to say everybody needs to pre-order Lauren's new book that's coming out very soon.
Comes out
Love
January 28th.
Yes, I had a chance to read that one earlier. Disney Cruise was so good. So please order her book and read it and love it and post about it because clearly she is lovely and you all need an amazing book in your life from her. So
thank you.
Exactly. And Kayla's books are always available at thenovelneighbor.com. And Lauren's books are always available at thenovelneighbor.com. So you can swing right over to the link below. Sorry, I just got a text that was really loud. You can click that link down below you can pre-order Lauren's book and you can check out Kayla's book, and we ship too because we know how to use the mail and it's very easy and you're not going to regret it. So you're going to read Kayla's this month, and at the end of the month when we ship you that pre-order of Lauren's book, then you can read Lauren's book. We got the whole plan situated. But thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Stay safe. It is very snowy outside, and thank you guys so much for joining. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, you guys.